Hello everybody, this is a Lighthouse Hall of Fame film from the North American server. Congratulations to wottanksplayer, his initial entry into the Hall of Fame, and it comes in the T21 on Airfield Standard West spawn. This side of the map seems to produce way more Hall of Fame films than the Eastern spawn does, even though, personally I prefer starting from the East and the West, but this side seems to get the bigger scores. In this battle, there's 3 artillery on the enemy team, 2 on his. 1 scout on the enemy team, 2 lights on his. And enemy team mostly heavies, whereas his team's mostly mediums and TDs. They're going to be more mobile. Enemy team should dominate here, but they should dominate on the flanks. Doesn't look like he's moving up to the balcony like most scouts do. He's pulling up to the B row. So this will be interesting. We haven't had a Hall of Fame film with a scout that moves over to this side yet. So he's going to pull over here and wait and see if he can spot any of their tanks moving into the middle of the map. A couple mediums coming with him, wow. A few more tanks more than normal over here. Nobody's showing up at the moment, so he's going to pull forward, get a better position. And here comes the TOG. .150's pulling out in the open. Probably not the best thing to do when you're spotted.
Penetration. Penetration. Where'd they go?
And down he goes. Now the HT's up next. Taking fire. And he falls, so the B row's all theirs unless there's somebody hanging out back here like some tanks like to do. But he's pressing forward and catches the arty moving across the open plain here. He's not going to make it either, I don't think.
Enemy armor is damaged.
Arty's trying to get turned around to shoot him and doesn't quite make it before he dies. So now a wottanksplayer is in perfect position to move behind their rear flank. They have a huge lead right now, 8-1, 7 tank advantage. Enemy team offered very little resistance in this battle. There's AFK tank, arty, and another heavy farther up. He's shooting at the arty, but I think he's going to switch to the KV2. With the guy not looking at him, they're going to take out the arty first, and now he gets to come up and shoot at the KV2, who's totally not caring that he has a scout behind him, and he's going to pay the price for it. The T21 doesn't have great top speed. As a matter of fact, it has poor top speed, but it has very good agility and maneuverability. So even though it can't get out and win a race to anywhere, it can circle of death very well with most tanks. Just the TD to go, who's way over there on cap and has 0 chance of winning because Probably the tanks at this end are going to outcap him, and the tanks at that end will go try to take him out. Stug 3 is headed that way to try to get him. Let's see if he gets there, because the cap race is almost over. Maybe Artie will help him out if he can light him up. Down to just 5 seconds to go. Oh, and after a cap is completed, as you know, it takes another 5 seconds of nobody dying before the victory is awarded. And during those 5 seconds, the TD dies. So they get the best of both worlds. They get a cap win and they get to kill everybody. So maximum XP available gets dispersed after this battle. He ends up with 2,225 damage and 4 kills, 21 of 24 shooting, 88%. Got 1,239 assisted damage in 6 spots. Earned 46,069 credits. Got 37 points of cap. And survived the fight with Spotter, Bruiser, Arsonist, Fighter, and Fire for Effect mini medals. He gets awarded 2,051 XP, and the bonuses bump him up to 2,086 battle score, which puts him into 24th place on the T21 list. And I'm going to talk about his battle real quick, and then I'll go back and talk about his ranking, just so you understand what happens, because there's 2 different scenarios that can cause you to submit a film and get ranked and then never show up, or submit a film thinking you're ranked and never even get included. So he started off moving up here, waited to see if he could spot anybody. He didn't, so he moved forward and started getting spots on some heavies and on the TOG. And as his team was able to deal with those guys, especially the 2 heavies up here, continued forward, caught the Artie going to the north. And by that time, they had a 7-tank lead, and he was in perfect position just to swing down here. And as he came behind him, he saw 3 more tanks. One was AFK, one was the Artie, and then the KV-2, who was looking out this way. So he correctly ignores the AFK tank because he's not a threat at all, takes out the Artie, and then moves on, takes out the KV-2, and then comes back to the AFK tank. You want to ignore the tank that's not the threat to you when there's other tanks capable of hurting you. Sometimes people get greedy and say, oh, AFK tank, I'm going to shoot that. And they neglect the fact that there's 2 other tanks behind the AFK tank who are actively playing and are swiveling around to shoot them, and they end up dying. Pay attention to the tanks, and the status of the tanks dictates who you need to take on first. Whenever you have an AFK tank and an active tank close enough to both be able to shoot you, take the guy who can do it, not the guy who can't. Now, in this case, when he submitted the film, he was in 24th place, and he got put onto the website as in 24th place. However, there's a whole bunch of T21 films being submitted right now, and before I can make the video, he's bumped out of the top 25. So, because he was in the Hall of Fame, he qualified to be in it, I go ahead and make the video and put it on the T21 playlist, because the T21 playlist is just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. His film will always be there. It will always be there because he actually did get into the Hall of Fame. So even though at the time I post it here later today, I won't have a slot to put it on the website. It'll stay on the T21 playlist on YouTube. So there's one situation where, and the way I do it is at the end of every day before I go to bed, I look at all the submissions for that day, and then look at the Hall of Fame lists, and I rank their battle scores for that day. And if your battle score puts you in the top 25 for that tank at the end of that day, then you are in the Hall of Fame, and I give you credit for that. I usually go 3 or 4 days in between actually posting the scores on the website just because of the logistics of it all. Trying to play and having a family, I just have to ration my time to do that. But if you made it in at the end of the day, then you're going to get credit for being in the Hall of Fame. And even if you got bumped out like he did, to where he barely showed up, you're still going to get a YouTube. Now, another situation occurred last week with Dark Ninja, also a T21 film, where he submitted the film at the time in the day that he submitted it. To him, it looks like he's in the top 25. But other T21 films were submitted, and at the end of the day, when I ranked them, his didn't qualify. It got bumped out already. So he never gets the film on that because he never qualified to be in it. Um, it doesn't happen often, but when you're going through a phase where there's a whole bunch of people submitting replays for the same tank, that kind of situation can happen. So when you submit the film, just watch. If you show up on the website, then you're in. If, like in his case, he submitted 4 of them, 3 of them made it in, that one didn't, that one won't get the film. Or the rare instance where you qualify, but before I can post the score, he gets bumped out, I'm still going to make the film because you did make it in, so you deserve the film made. So I don't know if that clears anything up. It's like, number 1, you're in because your score is high enough that you can't get bumped out. Number 2, you submit the film, and at the end of the day I rank it, say it's 23, 24, 25. A bunch of more people submit films before I can make the movie for you, and you get bumped out, I'm still going to make the YouTube. And then you're in the playlist forever. You may not be on the website, but you'll be in the playlist forever. So hopefully that clears up for some people why sometimes you may submit a field and you're like, man, I look at the battle scar, I'm supposed to be number 24, but I didn't make it in. Well, it's because a bunch of other people submitted films that day, and so by the time I ranked it at the end of the day, it wasn't in. From Airfield, getting into the Hall of Fame and getting bumped out right away, hopefully submitting more and getting back in. WOT Tanks Player. Happy hunting.